what if? What if the biggest threat to a secure network isn't some, super complex piece of malware, but something much simpler, like a really convincing email, or maybe an unlocked server room door, or even just a piece of paper someone threw away. Think of it like a cyber thriller. The most dangerous villain isn't always the coding genius. Sometimes it's a master manipulator, or just a weak spot hiding in plain sight. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into the fundamentals of cybersecurity. We're looking at pervasive attack surfaces and controls. And this isn't just theory, okay? This is the critical stuff you need for real-world network and system security. We're going to unpack how human behavior, our physical spaces, and, well, how we manage data itself are these constant battlegrounds, often underestimated ones, too. Our guide here is Module 2 of Mark Ciampa's CompTIA Security Plus Guide to Network Security Fundamentals. It's a great resource. And look, if you're building a career in information systems, maybe you're a BCIS 4345 student at Tarleton State's Dr. Sampat College of Business, or you're just starting out in MIS/CIS IT understanding these hidden vulnerabilities. It's not just key, it's your edge. It's really about mastering security as this continuous thing, analysis, implementation, evaluation, maintenance, all of it. We'll touch on computer risks, best practices for today's data systems, even future trends. So before we go any further, if you find this stuff valuable, and honestly, it's crucial for protecting your career in this fast-moving tech world, do us a favor, hit like, subscribe, share this deep dive. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, let's unpack this first part. We often think the weak link is the tech, right? Some glitch, some exploit we haven't patched yet. But, well, a lot of the time, it's us, people. And that brings us straight into social engineering, which is fascinating and honestly a bit scary sometimes. At its heart, it's about manipulating people, getting information, or maybe convincing someone to click something or do something that just weakens security.
It really is striking how universal these manipulation tactics are. They tap right into, basic human psychology. The source material highlights 7 really common ones, each playing on a different trigger. First, there's authority. Someone pretending to be the boss, or someone high up to get you to comply.
Like the classic CEO email needing an urgent wire transfer.
Exactly that. That mixes authority with urgency, another tactic pushing for immediate action so you don't think. Then you've got intimidation. Using fear, like those fake virus warnings telling you to call a number right now.
Okay.
Consensus plays on the idea that, well, everyone else is doing it. Like, all your coworkers use this link to update. You should too.
Right, peer pressure almost.
Sort of, yeah. Scarcity creates that feeling of limited availability. Only a few licenses left for this critical update.
And last couple, familiarity and trust. They leverage relationships or perceived credibility.
Like a text pretending to be from your bank, or a message from a friend. Precisely. And what's really clever, or maybe insidious, is how these are often layered. Someone might use authority and urgency and scarcity all in one go. It bypasses critical thinking. The big takeaway, our own human biases. They're weapons used against us.
It's pretty chilling, yeah, how just a few psychological tricks can open so many doors. But how do these ideas, these tactics actually show up? In the real world, what are the common attacks we're likely to see?
Good question. The absolute most common one you'll see is phishing. That's those fake emails, maybe fake website pop-ups, pretending to be legit sources. They want you to click, log in, give up info. But it's not just one technique. It's got loads of variations. Think of a fisherman, right?
Yeah.
They use different lures for different fish.
That's a great analogy. So beyond just the basic email scam, what are some of those other lures?
Well, there's business email compromise, or BEC. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Attackers exploit how businesses pay electronically, often by pretending to be an executive authorizing a payment.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that. Very targeted.
Very. Then there's vishing. That's voice phishing. Over the phone. Sometimes automated calls that sound surprisingly real. Smishing uses SMS text messages, usually with a dodgy link. For more specific targets, you have spear phishing. That's carefully crafted, aimed at maybe one person or small group, based on info the attacker found out about them.
So more personalized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even more targeted is whaling. That goes after the big fish, senior execs, board members, people with high-level access or authority. And then, of course, there's just plain old spamming, bulk unsolicited emails, often used to spread malware or just see who opens them for later attacks. Knowing these different types isn't just about spotting one bad email. It's a core skill for anyone doing network defense or incident response. You need to recognize the pattern.
So a lot of it comes down to manipulation and, well, impersonation, doesn't it? Someone pretending to be someone else.
Precisely. Impersonation is key. Masquerading as someone real or sometimes completely fictitious. Two techniques to know here are pretexting. That's where the attacker makes up a scenario, a pretext, to justify asking for information they shouldn't get. And brand impersonation, using logos and names of big, trusted companies, banks, tech giants to build instant but false trust. These really highlight how people, human vectors are often the primary way in.
Okay, so direct manipulation is one thing, but sometimes attacks are sneakier, more about misdirection, not just phishing links, but other ways to trick us into going to dangerous places online.
Yeah, that's where redirection attacks fit in. A really common one is typo squatting. Attackers register domain names that look almost like popular sites, banking on you making a small typo when you type the web address. You end up on their fake site instead.
Ugh, yeah. Done that myself, probably.
We all have. Then there's farming. That's a bit more technical. It can redirect traffic from a legitimate site to a fake one without you even knowing, often by messing with the DNS records. And there's bit flipping. This one's kind of wild. It's not about code. It's about changing a single binary digit, a 0 to a 1 or vice versa, maybe due to a tiny hardware flaw or even background radiation.
Oh.
Yeah. It shows how even at the most basic level, data integrity can be fragile. Makes things like error checking really important. And stepping back, you also see misinformation and disinformation. False info spread around. Disinformation has that malicious intent behind it. Hoaxes fall into this category too.
And some attacks are even more targeted, right? Not just individuals, but specific groups.
That's the watering hole attack. It targets a small group, maybe a specific company department or members of an organization. The attacker compromises a website they know that group visits often, like poisoning the watering hole where they all gather.
Yeah, makes sense.
And before almost any attack, there's groundwork, data reconnaissance, gathering intelligence. Sometimes it's shockingly low tech, like dumpster diving, literally going through trash bins for discarded documents.
You're kidding. People still find useful stuff that way.
Absolutely. You'd be amazed.
Yeah.
Old printouts, partial passwords, client lists, even things like flare plans may be pieced together from, catering invoices. It's a reminder, out of sight isn't secure.
Wow. Okay.
Then digitally, you've got Google dorking, using smart search queries to find sensitive stuff that accidentally got left public on the web. And finally, shoulder surfing, just looking over someone's shoulder as they type a password or view sensitive info. Simple, but effective.
Okay, this next bit, I think this is where it really connects for, say, our BCIS 4345 listeners. If we can really learn to think like an ethical hacker, anticipate these moves, understand these human weak points, how does that actually make us better at, assessing risks or spotting incidents?
Oh, it translates directly, massively. If you can put yourself in that attacker's mindset, understand these human vulnerabilities, you're not just reacting anymore. You're building a proactive defense that considers the human factor first. That mental shift from thinking tech first to human first. That's powerful. It boosts your understanding of real computer-related risks, sure, but it also sharpens your skills. Skills in doing security assessments, monitoring for weird activity, and responding faster and, smarter when something does happen.
Right. Thinking like the attacker arms you against these human exploits. Okay, but what happens when the threat isn't just on the screen? What about the real world? Once we address the human side, we have to look at the actual ground our data sits on, the physical environment, which brings us to physical security. Often forgotten maybe, but absolutely fundamental.
Critical layer, absolutely. The module talks about a multi-layered approach. Think of it like an onion. Layers protecting the core. You start right at the edge with perimeter defenses. Things designed to stop or at least detect someone trying to get close who shouldn't be.
So, practically speaking, what does that outer layer look like?
Well, the first things are often barriers. Good fencing, maybe. Strategic lighting so there are no dark corners. Bollards to stop vehicles ramming through. Clear signs saying, keep out. Barricades. Then, the human element again. Security guards. Their presence is a deterrent. Plus, they're often monitoring video surveillance, CCTV. For really sensitive areas, you might have two-person integrity or control.
Like the nuclear launch keys.
Exactly that idea. No single person can do a critical task alone. It builds in a check against insider threats, intentional or not. And beyond people, you have sensors. Lots of types. Infrared, IR, detects heat. Microwave sensors detect movement over larger areas. Ultrasonic uses sound waves. Even pressure sensors in floors or mats, all trying to spot an intrusion early.
Sounds like something out of Mission Impossible, and I guess you layer these zones, right? Tighter security as you get closer to the important stuff.
Exactly. That's the idea of security buffers. Zones from low to high security. A high security zone might have an access control vestibule, sometimes called a man trap. It's a small room with two doors. You need an access badge, maybe biometrics, or a pin-in to get through each door. Controls entry and exit tightly.
Ah, okay.
A medium security zone could just be a reception area where visitors get checked in. A low security area might be a waiting room. And of course, the most basic physical control, the one we see everywhere, locks. From simple key locks to complex electronic ones.
Okay, so we've layered the defenses, but even inside a secure building, data can still leak out, right? What about invisible threats like radio signals? Or someone physically tampering with cables?
Good point. That's where some more advanced, specialized things come in. You might use a Faraday cage. It's basically a metal box or room lining that blocks electromagnetic signals, stops data leaking out via radio waves, or someone eavesdropping wirelessly.
Right.
And then there's a protected distribution system, or PDS. This is about physically securing the network cables themselves. Imagine running your critical network cables inside, like armored pipes or conduits, often with alarms built in. If someone tries to cut or tap into the cable, an alarm goes off immediately. Makes physical wiretapping really hard.
And we also need to think about computer hardware security itself.
Right, because if someone just walks out with a laptop or a server drive, all those fancy fences don't help much. What are the practical things here, things you listening can actually use?
Totally. Simple stuff, often. Cable locks to physically chain a laptop or desktop to a desk.
Deters casual theft. Access controls on the device passwords, biometrics, encryption for the hard drive. Full disk encryption means even if they steal the hardware, the data is scrambled without the key.
Crucial.
Yeah. Anti-theft devices might help track stolen gear. Secure boot ensures only trusted operating systems load up, stopping some nasty low-level malware. And, like we said, security cameras watching the hardware itself can be a huge deterrent and help investigate if something does go missing.
This really raises a key question for you, the listener, especially if you're aiming for a career in IT or security. How do you actually implement and configure all these different measures? Not just check boxes, but build a real working defense system. Understanding these controls directly helps you manage operations, secure data integrity. These are core skills from the BCIS 4345 course, actually. And it makes you think about that balance, security versus making things easy to use.
Okay, so we've locked down the people, we've locked down the places. Now let's talk about the actual treasure. The data itself. In today's world, data integrity, it's everything. It's trust, it's compliance, it's keeping the business running. It's what the attackers really want.
Absolutely. And how we categorize and protect data is, well, it's complex. Because not all data is the same. Its value, the risk if it's exposed, it changes. We classify data based on sensitivity, basically, how much harm would disclosure cause. But the real trick in an enterprise is that this isn't static. You have to constantly analyze and reevaluate. Okay, so walk us through those classifications. What are the different sensitivity levels, and what do they mean in practice for security folks?
Sure. The module outlines several key ones. You've got sensitive data. If this leaks, it could be catastrophic. Think top secret product designs, proprietary formulas. Confidential data is usually the highest level within a company, needing the strictest controls. Then public data. No harm if released. Marketing brochures, public website info. Restricted data is stuff not for the public, maybe internal use only. Private data is often a subset of restricted, usually relating to individuals, medium confidentiality, and critical data. This is classified based on availability. If this data isn't available, the whole mission or function stops. Core operational databases, maybe. The real challenge isn't just knowing the labels, it's mapping your organization's actual data to these and then deciding the right security level.
That difference between sensitivity and criticality, yeah, that's important. And beyond sensitivity, data also comes in different types, right? Which affects how we secure it too.
That's right. You've got regulated data that laws or industry rules say you have to protect in specific ways, like health info under HIPAA or financial data. There's trade secret data, stuff a company keeps private for a competitive edge, the secret sauce recipe, basically. Intellectual property, IP data, inventions, creative works, often legally protected. Then obviously, legal information and financial information, huge liability if mishandled. And just a basic distinction, human readable data versus non-human readable data. One's for people, one's for machines. Both need protection, but maybe different kinds.
Understanding all that really drives home the potential impact when things go wrong, because a data breach isn't just a digital problem, is it? The consequences are very real world.
Oh, absolutely. They can be severe. Massive fines from regulators.
Yeah.
Widespread identity theft for customers or employees. Damaging lawsuits that can hurt a company's reputation and bottom line for years. This is why risk analysis is so vital. You have to anticipate these potential outcomes and try to prevent them. And when we think about protecting data, we also need to consider its state.
Data state. Okay, what's that? Why does it matter?
It just means where the data is or what's happening to it. Is it at rest, just sitting there, stored on a drive or server? Is it in transit, moving across a network, like in an email or web traffic? Or is it in use, actively being processed by an application, maybe in memory? Each state has different vulnerabilities, so it needs different protection. Data at rest, maybe encrypt the whole disk. Data in transit, encrypt the communication channel, like using TLS data cell. Data in use, that's trickier, sometimes involves memory protection or specific application controls.
Okay, that makes sense.
We also have to think about data sovereignty laws, about where data must be stored or processed based on country. And geolocation, knowing physically where your data is, which ties into those sovereignty rules. These bigger picture things shape the specific security methods we choose.
So given all that complexity, states, types, locations, what are the actual practical tools and techniques we use? The methods you listening really need to know to secure modern data systems.
Right? These are the methods that directly tie into implementation, evaluation, maintenance, all parts of that continuous security process. Let's hit a few key ones. Encryption is foundational. Scrambling data so it's unreadable without the key. Essential for data at rest and in transit.
Definitely.
Then hashing. It's not encryption, but it's crucial for integrity. It creates a unique fingerprint for data. If the data changes even slightly, the hash changes completely. Lets you verify nothing's been tampered with.
Okay, like a digital seal.
Kind of, yeah. We also use segmentation, basically separating your most sensitive data onto its own restricted part of the network. Limits exposure if one part gets breached. Permission restrictions, obvious but critical, only give people access to the data they absolutely need for their job. Principle of least privilege. And data sanitization. That's thoroughly wiping data, especially before getting rid of old hard drives or reusing storage. Just deleting isn't enough. You need to really scrub it clean for privacy.
It's really interesting how these methods aren't just abstract concepts. They're the hands-on techniques for implementing, evaluating, and maintaining security. They're the best practices for protecting information, messages, databases. This section really gives you, the listener, those practical skills for securing data and managing operations day to day. Wow, okay. We've covered a lot of ground today. We dove deep into three really pervasive areas: social engineering, physical security, and data controls. We started with the human element, how manipulation can bypass even strong tech defenses. Then we moved to the physical world, fences, locks, cameras, even secure cables, protecting the actual space. And finally, we looked at protecting the data itself, classifying it, understanding its state, and using tools like encryption, hashing, and permissions.
It really underscores that security is this continuous loop, right? Analysis, implementation, evaluation, maintenance, across all these fronts. And realizing the biggest threats might not be the super complex malware, but maybe that convincing email or that unlocked door. That's key. It forces you to take that holistic view,
Yeah.
way beyond just the firewall and the antivirus software.
Exactly. And by understanding these different attack surfaces, these controls, you are gaining the knowledge and skills you need. Implementing security, conducting assessments, managing operations, responding to incidents. These are absolutely critical skills for any successful career in information systems. So if this deep dive was valuable for you, please like, subscribe, share it around. It really helps us keep bringing these insights to you for your career. And here's something to think about. Given how pervasive all these attack surfaces are, what's maybe one single overlooked control in your own daily digital life, or maybe your physical space that you might prioritize securing right now? Just one thing. Stay connected, stay secure. Until next time, keep your network strong, your data protected, and your curiosity alive.